Menopause is a completely normal and natural biological condition that every woman will experience in her lifetime. That is, in a woman's life, you can clearly divide, let's say 3 periods. Girl. A girl is the state of the female body before the onset of menstruation. Menstruation is a sign that the period of fertility is beginning. How do I say this in Russian? Fertility is the ability to have children. The next period, the period when menstruation occurs, corresponds to the number of eggs in the ovaries, since with each cycle 1 egg is lost. Well, not lost, let's say, 1 egg is used. And when the eggs in a woman's ovaries run out, the 3rd period begins after menopause. This is called menopause. This climacteric period corresponds to the decline of the reproductive organs, the fading of sexual function in women, and changes in hormonal balance. Although in principle it was changing, it had its own cycles even during the fertile period, the 2nd period of a woman's life. But during the transition from the fertile period to the climacteric period, the transition from being a woman, so to speak, to becoming a grandmother, this transition is very often accompanied by various hormonal changes. And these hormonal changes, hormonal surges, the disruption of the usual hormonal cycle in a woman, are accompanied by unpleasant symptoms, poor condition of the cardiovascular system, hot flashes, episodes of tachycardia, poor sleep, and a disturbed nervous system. And the most surprising thing is that this is actually normal for women. But under normal circumstances, this process is not painful and does not last long, only until the body adjusts to the new hormonal background. But that's only the case, you see, when the vital reproductive organs, specifically the ovaries within a woman's body, are truly healthy and functioning optimally. And I want to emphasize and tell you right away with absolute clarity that the proper functioning and overall health of a woman's precious ovaries strictly and fundamentally depend on one incredibly important and often overlooked factor, the consistent warmth of a woman's feet. It is a well-known observation, unfortunately, that women's feet are very often cold, indeed quite cold. Now try to understand this. And because the feet are cold, because the kidneys are chilled, the bladder is chilled, that's why uterine fibroids develop, and that's why the ovary is also cold. Girls, because your feet are cold, your ovaries are cold, there will be menstrual cycle disorders, there will be problems with the ability to get pregnant, the ability to carry a pregnancy, and because of cold feet, there will be issues during menopause when the ovary, which even after menopause should still produce some basic background level of hormones, doesn't produce them, doesn't support it. And because of this, all sorts of different hormonal changes occur. Right where the ovary is, there is also the kidney, which also doesn't function well, doesn't perform its role. Because of this, the urine is light and clear. Where the ovaries and kidneys are, there is also the adrenal gland, which is supposed to produce various hormones, including cortisol, to provide anti-inflammatory effects throughout the body. It also produces sex hormones, aldosterone, adrenaline. There are many hormones there. But that's not the topic right now. The topic now is how to make sure that the menopausal period passes without major disruptions to the body as a whole. What do you need to understand? For this, you need to have a healthy genitourinary system, And for that, girls, you need to keep your feet warm. Just understand this principle. Warm feet, this is the topic I talk about, and it aligns with the experiences of many, many people who have serious problems with the genitourinary system and other issues, other systems. Therefore, if you want the climacteric processes in your body to go not so painfully, not so destructively for the body as a whole, you need to maintain the health of your uterus, ovaries, and also your kidneys, even after your periods have stopped, even after menopause has set in. To do this, you need to keep them warm. First, keep your kidneys warm. Let me say right away, it's not so easy to warm up your kidneys. If you get into the bathtub and fill it with hot water, that water definitely won't warm your kidneys. A heating pad won't warm them either. You need a kind of heat that penetrates deep into your body. For this, I use infrared heat from heated Turmanium ceramics. This kind of heat provides deep penetration and can even warm your kidneys, even though they are located deep inside, about 10 to 12 centimeters or more. But with the infrared heat from Turmanium ceramics, you lie down on the mat, warm your kidneys, and it will heat your kidneys thoroughly. After the kidneys, always warm the lower abdomen. That's where the bladder is, and to the right and left of it are the ovaries. You won't be able to warm the uterus. In fact, it might not even be possible at all. It's located behind the bladder, and this heat definitely won't reach it. Well, this is for those people who say, oh, I'm afraid to use heat. I have a fibromyoma. No, you absolutely won't be able to heat up the fibromyoma or the myoma. But it's essential to warm the lower abdomen where the ovaries and the bladder are located. But the most important thing, actually, no. The most important thing is, in the evening before going to bed, lay out the mat. On the mat, place your legs on it, while your shins and thighs, legs, that doesn't mean just your feet. Place your shins and thighs on the mat, and then, well, you're warming from below, but the top cools down. So you also need to wrap up, cover yourself. Wrap up, cover yourself, and warm your leg. Well, I'll give you a specific recipe. Warm your legs until you sweat on your legs. You need your legs to actually break a sweat. This means that so much heat has entered that it even starts to come out. The leg tries to get rid of the heat by sweating. And if you want to warm your legs thoroughly, properly and enough, you need to warm them up, wrapping them in ceramic so that they even start to sweat. And this warming of the legs triggers the healing of the kidneys themselves, the bladder itself, and the healing of the ovaries. And then even after the onset of menopause, the basic level of hormones will still be produced. The basic level of ovarian hormones is estrogen. Of course, the peak production of estrogen occurs during the fertile period. Estrogens must be produced to make a human being into a woman. A person by themselves is a human being. Their sex hormones depend on who they will become, a man or a woman. Estrogens, the hormones of the ovaries, turn a human being into a woman. They are needed during the fertile period, the time between the start and end of menstruation. But even after menstruation ends, a woman remains a woman. She may be a grandmother, but she is still a woman. And that's why even then the ovary should produce at least a basic level of estrogen hormones. But for it to do so, the ovary needs to be healthy. And for the ovary to be healthy, it needs to be warmed so that warmth reaches it. All illnesses come from cold, and from warmth comes only health. So keep your kidneys, ovaries, and lower abdomen warm, and most importantly, your feet. This is the answer to the question of what to do to avoid those unpleasant health conditions in women during the climacteric period. Well, that's the information from Dr. Golod for you today. Thank you very much for your attention, friends. See you next time. Goodbye.